What is up and how's it going? Welcome back to another edition of the Noble Steady Sort of Sports Talk. We got a Dynasty Doctors episode, a very special one, actually. I am your host, Tyler, one half of the Dynasty Doctors, and the other half is Shane O'Mac. Shane, how you doing today, buddy?
Tyler, what's up, my brother? I'm excited about our redraft of this terrible rookie draft that we participated in a couple years ago.
It was kind of nostalgia to me. I've been seeing some redraft videos and people redoing, take a look back. And I thought, me and you joined our first Dynasty League 3 years ago, and this is our first rookie draft, or 4 years ago, and this is our first rookie draft. So I thought what kind of fun it would be just to take a look back. And I feel like 3 years is a good barometer to kind of judge a draft class on the way it looks going forward. But we also have we have the Dynasty Doc resident, Joey. Joey, what's up, buddy?
Man, this redraft thing is new to me, so I think my residency is going to be tested very hard right now. But other than that, I'm good. I see that you are you've recovered from your technical difficulty, which is why Tyler's audio may sound a little different.
Yes.
Okay.
So
it will be back to normal soon. Just
Look,
think of it as this: it's his vacation without vacationing.
Look, we had I don't have the mic today, as y'all can hear, but we do the content, we make it as we push through, we make adjustments, and we go from there. But other than that, I don't want to spend too much time whining and complaining about my technical difficulties that I've done for the last 30 minutes. Let's get into it, gentlemen. We're going to redraft the 2022 NFL rookie draft here, and for dynasty purposes, of course. So this is it for. Let's just jump right into it. We kind of split up the order. We did it by random. We're gonna do 12 picks, like a 12 team first round, but we're gonna be alternating snake picks. So I have the first pick, and Joey has the second pick. Shane has the third one, meaning Shane's gonna have back-to-back picks at one point. I'll have back-to-back picks as well. So if we get a little long-winded at one point, it's just the way the snake draft kind of felt. But with that being said, are y'all ready to go?
Yes,
Let's
sir.
go for it.
All right, let's do it. Well, with the first pick of the 2022 redraft, the Dynasty Doctor selects Drake London, wide receiver out of UFC, and the wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. I know as a Saints fan, it's not fun to say, but to me, over these past 3 years, he has been – I shouldn't say after the past 3 years. It's really interesting at the top, but I'm trying to look at it as if I'm taking a rookie class now, knowing what I know now, I'm going to take Drake London first overall. And just kind of put a little spin on what he's done his first 3 years in the league. Really came on strong this year. He actually finished as the wide receiver 5 overall in PPR leagues. And with Penix, I found this really kind of crazy. His last 3 games, the 3 games that Penix started was he scored 10.9. Okay, meh, not great what you want to see. But then 17.6 and then 40.7. And he had a combined 39 targets over that span. I'm buying every share I can. Look, redraft, dynasty, wherever. He's still young. They use him as a power slot. I'd love to see more touchdowns out of him, but hey, PPR monster, love it, bank it, first overall pick. Shane, what you think, buddy?
Hard to disagree with that. He's definitely on the rise. He had a great year last year, like you said. I think he can have an even better year this year. If I was picking first, it would have been him, and there was somebody I was strongly considering second, but we can talk about that later. But I think he's like 14th in best ball drafts. I think he's close to like 12 or 13 in redraft and even in dynasty. So I think the sky's the limits for him. I don't think last year was his best year. So I think you picked him first overall in our dynasty league. And where I was a little. I would say, okay, after running backs are premium, Tyler was very bullish on this guy, and to me it's proven correct over who you could debate the first 2 picks would have been, which were both running backs. So love the pick.
Joey, any thoughts on the Drake London pick going 1 in our redraft?
Definitely, like you said, first couple years he didn't do as great as his ranking was, but picked it up in his 3rd year. That's one thing with dynasty, man. Like you look at teams and you say like, oh man, his situation sucks. But then you kind of want to take that bet of, well, how's he going to be in a couple years when if he's bad or in a bad situation, they either move him or people clean house. So, good pick in the first round. He's doing really well in Atlanta. Kind of as a Saints fan, like you said, I don't like saying that, but good first pick.
Yeah, and I think the thing is my view of it is that Desmond Ritter was the quarterback when they took him. I figured, hey, either Ritter's going to take that step up with him, or he's going to fall flat and they're going to find another quarterback. I mean, we all thought it was going to be Kirk Cousins last year. I mean, it was for a certain extent. But I also think just the offensive coordinator change or the offensive philosophy change from Arthur Smith to Zach Robinson, who's now running the offense underneath Raheem Morris, has done a world of good. Like I said, they put him in a slot more instead of trying to be like, hey, we're going to put you outside on an island to go beat somebody. They're making mismatches for him, which is honestly kind of takes Kyle Pitts out of it because they kind of run that same kind of role, right? But I think Drake London has really kind of taken it over from there and really done a great job with it. So with that being said, that leads us to a second pick. Joey with the second pick. Who are you taking, buddy?
So here's where my redraft kind of prowess kind of fell apart because I immediately went with the guy who was the first overall ranked according to Fantasy Pros that year, and that was Breece Hall. And, not really consistent, but I will say he finished fourth amongst running backs in 2023, so had a really good year. But he's, it's starting to become that running back by committee, and we don't really know what the future holds for him in New York. So I think if I'm looking at him, I'm kind of hoping that he gets in a situation where if I'm keeping him on my bench just to kind of get a couple points here and there, that he'll find somewhere better for sure. But that was my first foray into redrafting. I went with, I would say, not the best second pick, but I still think a pretty solid pick, to be honest.
Shane, I'll let you take this one first.
Yeah, so unfortunately for Breece, who's somebody I took him third in the Dynasty draft, where I think me and Tyler made a trade. He told me he wanted London. I was good with either Kenneth Walker or Breece Hall. To me, I wouldn't have taken him second. I feel like he's trending down. He has an immense amount of talent, like Joey said. If he lands somewhere else where he's more featured or they don't do the running back by committee. But to me, with Braylon Allen, who's a monster, I think he's just turning 21, who would get a lot of goal line. You have a mobile quarterback. And I know, like you said, Joe, you're new to this. You got to kind of take all in. You're not drafting like you were back then. There's a lot more information 3 years later. But Breece Hall still has the opportunity to be a top 20 player in the Dynasty League if he's used correctly. I just don't know if he's going to be used correctly for the New York Jets. They have 4 people that can run the ball on that roster, and they plan – as of now, to use all of them to run the ball.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of unknown is what's basically being said about the committee. It's a new coaching staff. It's always a little iffy when a new regime comes in, right? Personally, to me, Breece Hall is the selection 2 overall here. Even with everything kind of baked in and everything. Look, I'm not going to spoil any of the other picks coming up because I really love the ones that are coming up, especially the next one that's coming up. I love those kind of sneakiness to it. But I really love Breece Hall. I was kind of amazed when I was looking at it. When I was putting together stats, he's averages 4.6 yards a carry for his entire career. I mean, touchdowns aren't where they need to be. But here's the main thing, and a lot of this gets skewed from his first few years with Zach Wilson and just all the dump off passes. Did you know he has 152 catches? Like.
That's really talent, in his first 2 years, I think.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of talent there. The situation scares me a little bit, but you know me, I'm always going to take talent over situation and just hope it gets better, right?
So to back up your thing about his receptions, his first year he was targeted 31 times, he caught 19. So if you're in a full PPR league,
but in fairness, his first year he did get hurt and didn't play very often.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you go to the next season. Targeted 95 times, caught 76 of them. And then in 2024, targeted 76 times, caught 57. you know, that the receptions are there. So that's kind of where, Tyler's saying like this is a good second pick. You're getting a running back that can catch out the backfield with those dump offs with the situation that they had. So
Now, to get away from all the roses and sunshine, I will say his points per game has dipped every single year in the league, fantasy points per game wise. So just have to throw that out there. We all have to look at it full 360 view, not just what we want to see, right?
no, yes,
But,
yeah, totally.
all right, yeah. With that being said, I really want to talk about this player because I was kind of shocked you took him this high. But Shane, go ahead. You have the next 2 picks. Go ahead, buddy.
So with my third pick, who would be in consideration for the first pick, just based on straight roster construction, I'd taken Trey McBride, and my reasoning for that is as someone who has Brock Bowers in one league, and then
It is nice.
dumpster fire or trying to plug and play at tight end. Tight end's always been, whether it's redraft, whether it's dynasty, has been tough for me. I've always tried to hit on that tight end. To me, when you can put someone like Trey McBride, who has wide receiver 1 numbers or wide receiver 2 numbers in a tight end position, it gives you an immense amount of competitive advantage. If you have Brock Bowers, McBride, and even Kittle, but after those 3 guys, it's you're hoping for the best. So for me, McBride, just from a competitive advantage standpoint, I would love to have in the tight end spot. So while I wouldn't pass over Drake London for him, I would pass up the running backs and take him. I would have took him second. So he's my third overall pick.
Look, I love it. I love the positional advantage and trying to construct your roster the way it needs. Now, that being said, in course, we're looking at a view of just best players available, that kind of thing, right? We're not looking at, for instance, if I had let's say a George Kittle on my team already, I probably wouldn't be targeting McBride this high, right? Unless I'm just that concerned that Kittle's going to age out soon, which I don't see is going to happen. But I do want to throw some stats out there. And for those who are like, well, the numbers aren't as great or whatever, you also have to realize he was stuck behind Zach Ertz for a year and a half. It was about this halfway through his second year when he really started to really blow up and show and then this year was just a whole coming out party. Maybe not in the end zone, but over the middle. I mean, he was Kyler Murray's favorite target. It seemed like they just schemed stuff open for him, even though they took a wide receiver 4th overall. I love it. It's going to be him and Bowers for I would say at least the next 5 years. I mean, you could throw Kittle in there too, but eventually the age wall is going to hit. But I love the pick. I mean, just to run through some stats. Did you know he averaged 15.6 points per game last year, fantasy football wise?
I did.
That is amazing, right? So I get it. Look, it's a great pick in my opinion, and I love the different view of maybe from a roster construction point, just having that ace in the hole or that much better at that position, right?
Yeah, and so circle back to Joey's pick. Love Breece Hall, love the upside, but from mine is more just knowing what I know, roster construction, and the amount of running backs that hit in this draft, that you can maybe get later, and we'll kind of get into those picks. That's why he's mine, because I can lock him into that tight end position and then throw a bunch at running back. Because to me, you hit the one solid receiver, and then there's a lot of depth at running back that at the beginning of these drafts 3 years ago maybe wasn't known.
Yeah, that's very fair. Joey, what you think, bud?
It's a good pick. I think he's, it's like you said, the first couple of years with Zach Ertz ahead of him kind of probably turned a lot of people away. But again, when you're in Dynasty, you're thinking a little bit more long-term than you are immediate, especially with talent like that. If you sit there and you just go based off of what's coming this year, then you're pretty much in trouble in a lot of places by the time you get to that third round. I think, he hit it, knowing roster construction, like he said, that's a really good pick.
Yeah. Hell of a pick. Well, I mean, I think we've given him all of his flowers that he can. The only thing I will say, the only thing that would concern me just going into this year is the amount of crap they caught about Marvin Harrison kind of not producing at the level that people thought. I could see some of those targets kind of maybe maneuvering the other way. But I mean, he's still insulated as a top 2 tight end in the NFL. So I love the pick.
Yeah, what did he catch his first touchdown like week 16 or week 17?
Week 16.
So even if you lose his targets but can get 3 more touchdowns, I feel I feel pretty good.
We'll take that give and take. You know what I mean? Like, so Shane, sticking out in the NFC West, who you got in the 4th pick, bud?
I did stay on the West Coast. I took Kyron Williams. Just looking at his production, what is it over the last 2 years? 18.8 points a game. Whereas I don't know longevity wise if he's going to be the guy the next 3 to 5 years, but just based on what we know and going into this year, I think he's the best running back to move forward with this class.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm actually kind of aggravated. I didn't think of it myself. Of course, I didn't get to my picks anyway, but man, that's a hell of a pick. At this point, I feel like every year we're waiting for the Kyron Williams downfall because they keep taking running backs in the 3rd and 4th round. And you're like, oh, well, that means you're going to take touches away. Sean McVay keeps feeding him the rock. So until that doesn't happen anymore, I love the pick. You can't argue with it.
Yeah, I could see them feeding him the rock again this year and then maybe not re-signing him. Maybe he goes somewhere else. Not as good of a situation. But you just banking on what we've seen in this year, I just felt like he was the safest pick here.
Yeah, I get it. Joey, what you got, bud?
I mean, Kyron Williams, like when I looked at the rankings, I didn't even, for some reason, I just blanked on Kyron. But again, good pick. Typically, if I remember correctly, when he came up, I guess you could say he was just like, here I am. I'm making a call. This is me. I'm here. Watch me do what I do. And, that's the Saints are kind of, they just got Cam Akers, who I want to say was on the Rams roster when Kyron Williams joined and basically took his job. So,
yes, because that was Akers are coming back from the Achilles, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's what it was.
So in our other dynasty league, Joey, Kyron Williams went undrafted and was picked up, similar to like the Puka in our league. So he kind of came out of nowhere. They did have Cam Akers. So this is the fun part of being 3 years into the future and knowing, having the crystal ball and knowing the stats.
I love having the answer to the test already. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun for sure.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's much more we can say about Kyron. Touchdown machine. May not be there for the long haul, but hell, it's going to be a fun ride while he's there. I mean, it's the best way I could put it. Joey, you're with the next pick. And, if I was a hitter, you definitely just threw me a curveball on this one, buddy. Why don't you go ahead and let the people know who you took?
So I picked Brian Robinson Jr. of the Commanders, and full disclosure, I have him in fantasy. He's one of my starting running backs, so I kind of knew what I was getting into by picking him up. Averaging 8.6 points per game across the 3 years he's been there. A couple times getting me those 20-point games. You got Austin Eckler's there, or when he was there, gets hurt, next man up. So to me, Brian Robinson, he'll get those touches, he'll get those carries because everyone around him just seems to fall apart, as in Austin Eckler. But Austin Eckler is getting up there in age, especially at a position where you get about 9 years in, you start declining a little bit. So I liked what I see from Brian Robinson, especially now that he's got Jaden Daniels. It was a no-brainer for me to get him. I probably reached and got him a little early, but that's how good I feel about Brian Robinson.
Shane, you want to take this, or you want me to take a lead on this on the first take?
Well, it's extremely hurtful as a 41-year-old man to know that 30-year-old is old.
Listen,
so that hurts.
I'm freshly just turned 35, so trust me, I feel you.
I just listened. I want to say I forgot who the podcast was. I was surprised at how much work and how efficient Eckler was last year. I still love B-Rob. Jaden Daniels' movement makes me a little, where he could lose some of that. But you also saw that somebody else that we'll talk about, James Cook thrived with a mobile quarterback who's used to getting rushing touchdowns. So don't hate the pick. Big fan of the Commanders. I'm hoping they go far this year. I probably would have went with a different running back, but I think you're talking, apples to apples. It's more of a personal choice.
Yeah, and look, I was busting your chops by saying it's curveball. It is personal choice. He's averaged 11.5 fantasy points per game throughout his entire career, which, hell, that's double-digit fantasy points a week. If I can get that guaranteed from a running back spot, I'm not hating on it, okay? The only thing that concerns me is he always seems like he's a little bit of a committee back, and he's going to be kind of, I guess, pigeonholed into the two-down back with a third-down back behind him. He's uber talented. I like him. Look, I usually try to target him as like one of my discount backs, like in a 0 RB build kind of thing. But I don't hate the pick at all. It's there are definitely backs and one coming right after it that I would have taken above him, but that may be a little bit more of a gamble and aren't as steady as he is. But look, I respected Joey. I like how he took the stand on it. And look, if you like somebody, plant your flag into it, man. Like Shane could tell you, I was about 3 years early on Drake London and took him over people that people didn't think that I should have. But hey, it is what it is. You like your people, go get them.
You got it.
3 years later, looks like a great pick.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta take your chances every once in a while. Take your risks. You can't just live in the comfort of, oh, I know this guy's going to be good. I'm going to take a risk on this guy. And,
Now, look, don't get me wrong. There were
one
times.
thing I'll say.
Go ahead.
Sorry. The one thing I'll say about Brian Robinson is the improvements the Commanders have made over the offseason on both sides of the ball. He could, they could be up some. He could get more rushing in the third, fourth quarter, where I think you saw last year they were behind and they were throwing the ball. They were, he wasn't in the game to close out the game. The Ecklers or and I'm blanking on the other gentleman. Yeah, McNichols. Yeah, they were getting the dump off passes. Whereas I think the script could be turned this year, and to benefit Joey's pick, they could be running the ball out at the end of the game because they're going to have a better team,
better lines too, and he's the goal line back. So never going to hate having a goal line back, right? Touchdowns are king. So good pick, Joey. Good pick. Now I'm going to go with the 6th pick, and I got 2 back-to-back picks. I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker. And with this kind of pick, full disclosure, since Joey did it, I'll say it too. I have him in Dynasty, and I just traded for him, actually. I know the injury history. I get it. 100% get it. Some way he always injures his oblique somehow, some way in the season. I don't know if he needs to go see a specialist or what, but it always seems like to be some kind of core injury. But, man, I'm kind of buying into the Kubiak offense, too, coming in there. Because, look, for as crappy as the Saints were last year, at least for a little bit, the running game was humming. So I'm hoping they also drafted another guard in there, and he's just nothing but pure explosion. Now, if you can add in a few more catches into that arsenal, which we saw a little bit towards the beginning of last year, the sky's the limit for him, where I think he could be a top 10 back. The issue is always going to be the injuries, and look, it's a real thing. The best ability is availability. 100% agree, but I think just talent-wise, he has an opportunity to be a top 10 back in this league, if he's not already.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm getting something here. Oh, Kenneth Walker has an ankle injury. He's questionable for week 1. So Listen, the injury bug has bitten him hard. Okay, I had him at one point in fantasy, and he just couldn't stay healthy. So I was just like, you know what?
After all the nice things I said about Joey's pick and shit, there's got to be an ass.
Listen, I'm going to say this because this doesn't involve fantasy football, but it does involve I'm bringing this up. I did have a good text earlier in our group chat. We were talking about the Pelicans, and we said we were just kind of going back and forth on how we don't like what's going on. And
don't get me started.
Matt, one of the guys goes, "Hey, there's a lot of room on the duck boats trying to get us to become Celtics fans." And I said, "What is it like? I'm disappointed, not depressed."
Something like that. Man, you can't drop your own. You can't quote yourself and not know the quote.
It was something. Well, no, because it was. I was trying to put something else, and it auto corrected to disappointed.
Anyway,
or it was like discouraged, not depressed. That's what I was going for.
So anyway, away from the fake news that Joey has, yes, he is dealing with an ankle injury, but it got cleaned up and everything like that. But let's get back to the analysis, gentlemen. The analysis.
Yeah. So I'll jump in here. I love the pick. You can't worry. I think it's funny. Everyone, including myself, will knock certain people who could potentially get injured. Like I won't draft Christian McCaffrey, but the whole fantasy football world will draft him in the top 10 because you can't bank on people being injured. Kenneth Walker's a home run hitter if he's healthy. I mean, yes. he's 60, 70, 80-yard runs. He can catch the ball. He's stressful if you own him because he has the potential to get injured. I would say the same thing about the number 2 overall pick, Breece Hall, as someone who's had him. He's stressful if he's been injured. You can't bank on these guys. You just have to go off talent. And I mean, as a guy who was drafted 2nd overall in our Dynasty League going right here, I think it's a slam dunk.
Yeah, I mean, Look, so full disclosure, I made a trade to get Ken Walker this year, but also insulated my team with basically just bodies at running back. So I'm no longer at the point where I'm like, oh crap, this guy goes down. I literally have nobody else. It's like, no, I have 3 other options I can start now. Because last year with Christian McCaffrey was a nightmare.
Yeah, but Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker are both home run hitters. If they're ticked and tied and clicking on all cylinders, they're guys you want in your starting roster because they're going to put up 20-plus points a game.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And look, the other reason I'm really high on Ken Walker this year is Seattle has told you what they want to do this year on offense. They have clearly stated what they want to do. They've gotten rid of Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. Geno Smith's been traded. They got it. They signed Sam Darnold. They drafted an offensive lineman. They want to pound the rock. And for everybody that's out there that says, oh, what about Zach Charbonnet? That's fine and dandy. I think there's going to be enough carries to go along here for everybody to be happy.
Yeah, you could potentially be in a Gibbs-Montgomery situation in Seattle this year with Walker and Charbonnet.
100% agree with you. But so let me just keep on going. Joey, is there anything else you want to try to aggravate me about with the and give me bad news about?
No, I was looking at some stuff and I saw he was on the injury report, so I was like, let me just kind of throw this in there, just that one little.
Oh, I was hoping neither one of y'all would see that beforehand, but I was like, look, hats off to you. You did it. So let me go to the 7th pick. We'll move this right along. With the 7th pick of this redraft, I'm going to take Garrett Wilson, wide receiver for the New York Jets. And you talk about a guy that has produced with crap quarterback play. Okay? Another guy. I feel like I'm saying this for every one of my picks. I'm just banking on the talent. The talent's there. They'll eventually figure it out. I'm higher on Wilson this year than most probably. And maybe dumb. I'm maybe reading too much into it. But he's getting his college quarterback back. And I know it's Justin Fields. I know. But there's something to be said that chemistry is already built in, right? Like, you give them a few mini camps together, they're going to have the timing going back together. So we don't have to worry about Hippie Rodgers blaming everybody else but himself for sucking and all this stuff. So I think we're going to get another thing of of Garrett Wilson. Look, he's produced with crap quarterbacks before with Zach Wilson, been a PPR monster. I don't see why he can't do it now. Shane?
Yeah, I no disagreement here. I mean, when I would say his biggest competition for targets might be Brees Hall or rookie Mason Taylor. Tyler Conklin's gone. Corley potentially is not going to make the roster. Lazard's gone. I think it's Reynolds from Detroit that might be the second wide receiver. I think the Jets are going to run the ball, but when they throw the ball, Wilson is the clear target. He's got the talent. He can catch 8-10 balls a game. Love the talent. I get the hesitation from some people with the running quarterback, but he's the clear wide receiver target there.
There's nobody else. I just checked the depth chart. Literally nobody else.
So it's Brees Hall and Mason Taylor, basically, the running back and a rookie tight end.
Yeah, 100%. Like Malachi Corley is listed as second string, but I doubt that happens. And then you got like Xavier Gibson and then Pookie Wilson.
Is Reynolds not on that team? I thought Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds is on the team. He's the second wide receiver, and then Alan Lazard is still on the roster somehow.
Oh, he is. Okay.
So
so still no concern.
No. I mean, Allen Lazard is just cashing a check because we all know he is not a performer without Aaron Rodgers.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's where I was leaning on it. I feel like we're all kind of in agreement there that Garrett Wilson is going to be somebody that we'd like to target. It's going to be probably expensive, but I don't think there's a lot more we need to say here. Joey, anything?
No, I mean, you think that if Aaron Rodgers shows up, you kind of have this idea in your head that, well, maybe he'll get good at fantasy.
Wilson. Yeah.
No, I'm saying, but with Aaron Rodgers arriving with Garrett Wilson there, you think he'd get a lot of, but, I think the future now is brighter for Wilson. The Jets organization doesn't look as bad as they did, even though it's still
give it time.
It's still the Jets, so you kind of got to give them time to just implode. So, but Garrett Wilson's a good pick.
All right, well, Joey, you're up, sir.
All right, so I had this idea that I wanted to join the NFC South picking up of players. So I picked Rachaad White. So far, I thought he'd have a little better upside because at the time, who was the Bucs quarterback in 22? It wasn't Baker. So
it was Jameis.
Jameis? It was Jameis? Yeah, it was Jameis.
No, it wasn't Jameis because Jameis was here pre-pandemic. So I thought, this is going to be a run-heavy team. If I'm back then, looking at it now, you've got that passing game. Rachaad White he had that second year where he was in the top 7 of running backs, fell off this year, but I'll be honest, I think his production's still going to be good.
It was Brady, by the way.
Oh, it was Brady. Yeah, his last year Brady.
Yeah.
So, Rachaad White, to me, it's a name you hear a lot in Tampa. Kind of again, I've picked pretty much running backs. I've actually only picked running backs. So, just kind of be a third running back to have that'll get you points. That's kind of why I picked him.
I got you. I'm going to take this one first, Shane. Rachaad White was such a PPR monster when he first came in the league. He was catching all those little dump-off passes and everything like that, but it never made any sense because his rushing stats would be so bad. I mean, analytically wise, they were so bad. It was like, 3.2 yards a carry or something like that, but he'd get 8 receptions for 40 yards, and you're like, well, hell, I'll take the extra 12 points there already, like, whatever. So he was almost like a little cheat code, and a lot of guys targeted him in like zero RB kind of builds as well. But I think with Bucky Irving now, I think he'll still be a 1-2 punch kind of thing, but I think Bucky takes over that backfield. but it'll still be a valuable like flex play in. I feel like. Shane, what you think, bud?
If we're going off his first 2 years, I think it's a good pick. Knowing what we know now, and I think Joey alluded to this. Like, this is kind of new to Joey. You got to take this year what you know in future. With Bucky Irving, if Bucky doesn't get hurt, I think he's going to be the clear-cut target in that offense. So I probably wouldn't have took Rachaad White, but I would have took Rachaad White over a couple other people that will probably start diving down the list in. He's still like you said, if you're doing a 0 RB draft, or if you have solid wide receivers and you take him and he's getting you 12 points a week, he's solid. So it just depends on the roster build. In this instance, Joey took him as his third running back. It's a solid third running back. It just might not be the guy I picked based on roster construction, but he's still going to produce. And then if Bucky Irving goes out, he's getting all those touches in a high-powered offense. So it's not – you want good players in a good offense.
So the latest on Rachaad White right now is that this may be his last year in Tampa. So if indeed he leaves Tampa, let's say he goes to a team that needs a running back, it's that you're kind of like you're betting on the future kind of thing where it's like, hey, yes, they have Bucky Irving now and he's solidified himself as the top guy, but what is that next team going to look like? Is it going to be is it going to be the Saints where you have an aging Alvin Kamara, you got a lot of young talent at running back that isn't necessarily proven? I'm not saying the Saints in general, I'm just saying the situation.
Or like Dallas, who doesn't have
exactly. Or is it going to be, hey, he's just going to back up somebody that's already established, and then you're kind of stuck
That's
there.
a gamble. Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, if he was in Dallas, I would easily pick him where you pick B-Rob.
Yeah.
If not higher. So it just is situational and what we know today for his situation.
Right.
And then I think we said this before on the Dynasty podcast and everything. You can't play Dynasty year to year. I mean, you can, but you end up getting yourself in trouble. You got to play within these 2 to 3 year windows, and like kind of build your team one way, and then look, stuff happens. Like me and Shane's referenced our Dynasty League a few times in here. Shane, when I won my championship, right, my team was built heavily around the running back.
Yep.
And then now it's built around wide receivers. It's just the way my team kind of kept going. So I was like, okay, I got to pivot. So you always try to stay fluid, don't get too rigid, but I always recommend having a plan of attack. So, but with that being said, I think we're going to move past Rachaad White now. With the next pick, we got Shane. Shane's got the next 2 picks going on. Shane, what you got, buddy?
I'm taking 17 touchdown running back James Cook next. And that's trust me, I know
it's an interesting one.
Yeah, he's not going to score that next year. He kind of came in, he didn't do a lot the first, they were working him in. You still have Ray Davis there, you still have Josh Allen, but he's proven himself last year to be effective. I still think he can be a solid contributor at this stage of the draft. I feel pretty good about grabbing him here.
Yeah. The only thing that would concern me is, you've already said it, the touchdown regression's got to come. There's no way.
Absolutely.
No way he puts up 17, 18, whatever he put up last year. Now, the problem is, though, does it go from like a Jamal Williams kind of fall off, where it goes from 16 to nothing?
One. They fired the coach, got him fired.
Should have gotten our coach fired, but anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
But or does it go to 1, or does it drop down to like 9 or 8? I'm still happy with that. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So it just depends on how far the regression goes. Now, I will say that him complaining about money and stuff, it's definitely, or the holdout that he did, yet he showed up to camp, is a little concerning. They clearly, and it always worries me a little bit when a team's not willing to pay right away. You know what I mean? or like, oh, we got to take care of this guy kind of thing. So the contract situation worries me a little bit. But I mean, hell, at this point in the draft, and you just pick up a guy who scored 17 touchdowns last year, it's a good pick. He's got a dynamic skill set as well. So, and a high-powered offense.
Yeah.
Joey, what you think, bud? Oh,
I-
sorry, Shane.
I think the biggest thing with James Cook is he's in that last year of his contract this year, so he's going to be out to prove himself. Because if the Bills won't pay him, somebody will, and you have to utilize those last years of your contract to sit there and say, I'm showing you what I'm worth. Now pay me my money. And he's going to want to get paid. So I don't think it's going to go from 16 to 1, like Shane says. I think it might go at worst, maybe 16 to like 9. But it all depends on how this offense goes.
He was 69. I'm still writing checks every day.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I would love that. I still like the situations of all the running back you guys chose before this, including myself. But at this spot in the draft, I feel like it's a slam dunk to take him 9th.
Yeah, look, I love it. I just, it does worry me a little bit. So, one question about him, because we didn't talk a lot about James Cook. What do y'all think? Would y'all feel better if he got franchise tagged out like twice by the Bills? Because I mean, I don't want to say it would end his useful, like his prime years there, or would you rather him see him go get a bag somewhere else where he'd have the financial security, but maybe he doesn't have the drive? You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have that last year contract kind of thing.
Well, I think you run into the same situation that you run into with Rashad White. If Rashad White goes to Dallas, just like James Cook goes to Dallas, it's great. Say RJ Harvey doesn't work in Denver, Rashad White or James Cook goes to Denver. You love them there. If they go to a situation that like Breece Hall's in, where you're like, okay, hopefully they don't do this three running back committee, or he goes somewhere else where there's a mobile quarterback. Say Derrick Henry retires, James Cook goes to the Ravens. Is James Cook going to get the same opportunity Derrick Henry gets? So it's just a slippery slope, which I think is why he goes here.
Yeah, that's very fair. Joe, what about you, bud?
I agree. I mean, it's all situation based. If he, you kind of hope that if you're a Buffalo Bills fan that they pay him, but at the same time, typically when you get paid, something happens, whether it's, you tweak something and it's a nagging thing for the rest of your career, or your production falls off. So you kind of, I don't know, handcuffed by it. What do you rather? Would you rather, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other kind of situation? Possibly. Yeah. But to me, I want to see him do well in Buffalo. I think he deserves to get paid, but I don't run the books in Buffalo.
That is very true.
Well, when you have University of Kentucky stud Ray Davis behind you,
isn't he like 45 years old?
Hold on. Okay. Let's not shit on me and Amy's guy. Okay.
No, I like Ray Davis. I do.
Yeah.
I just had to bust your chops on that one. But let's move right along. Shane, you have the next pick as well. We got another running back. Who are we going with here, bud?
So running back for me is premium in Dynasty. I took Isaiah Pacheco. This is probably more of what he's done so far. I know he was banged up last year. Hoping he jumps back into the role he was in when he was healthy. I know he's up for extension this year. He could potentially go somewhere else, but just showing what he did and some of the other concerns over the wide receivers and other players available, I took him.
Joe, you go first on this one. I'll be honest, that's who I was looking at on my last pick. He's been a stud in Kansas City. Has been the key player in a lot of that offense, coming out of the backfield quick. Just my only, again, like you said, what does he do from here? Does he stay in Kansas City? Is Kansas City kind of starting to do that thing where, like, we've all figured out Kansas City, they're not going to be as successful or are they going to flourish? And are they going to flourish with or without him? So I think that would be the one question for me going into the next couple years.
So I'm going to play contrarian here on this one. He had a great run. He really did. About, a year and a half, I would say, coming there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big leg injury he's coming back from. He did not look well when he came back last year. Now, granted, coming back from a broken leg is not easy. Hats off for him to even coming back. It just, how do I put this? He kind of reminds, he's not Damian Pierce. I think he's more talented, different circumstance. But it kind of reminds me, he has this great little run in this like a short segmented period and then kind of falls off a little bit. I feel like, I view the wide receiver thing in Kansas City a lot better. And because you're going to have the Rice, I feel like Worthy really showed something towards the end of last year. Yeah, I know he was taking the Rice role, whatever, but I feel like Worthy ends up being the number one in our offense, wide receiver wise. Hot take here, and it's not just because I have him on my team, but I feel like Pacheco is going to be replaceable, and I don't know if they pay him. That's more concerns off of his injury and stuff.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. Look, if he was a third round running back, I'd be like, no, they're going to give him a little more leash. 7th round running back. Look, he's done great things with them, but they always seem to find these guys late in rounds and stuff like that. Now, they signed somebody out of SMU.
Rashad.
Yeah. Sneaky on that one because he was really good last year as well. So we'll see where it goes in that one. But Shane, I don't flaw the logic on this one. Let's say it that way. Okay, I know I kind of poo-pooed on it. I get the logic. It's just my personal preference on it.
Yeah, it's for me. I lock up a tight end position. I have 2 starting running backs, and I'm taking a good running back in a good offense. Whereas I think, and we can talk about the next couple picks and picks that weren't taken. If we're redrafting, I feel pretty good about it. I don't feel great about it. So
I get that. But Joey, why don't you give us your last pick, buddy, and then I will tie a nice little bow on this with my last pick.
My last pick, I decided to go with somebody who shows a lot of fight in his game. That would be George Pickens. I thought that, the situation in Pittsburgh, knowing what I know now, would I take him knowing what I know now before he went to Dallas? No. But him being in Dallas now, I think will do things to help him immensely in fantasy. We give a lot of hell to Dallas and their fans and how bad their quarterback is and all that. But when it's the regular season, Dak Prescott, with that offensive line help that he typically has, does pretty well. Now he's kind of starting to fall off, but Jerry Jones isn't going to stand for mediocrity very long. So, him being in Dallas, I think, is the best thing for him right now, especially with, Pittsburgh having Russell Wilson at the time last year, not knowing what's going to happen. And now having Aaron Rodgers there is going to be kind of something that will help him.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh fans, to be honest. Or Dallas fans, I'm sorry.
Well, he just goes to a much better situation, like you're talking about, right? Like, I mean, he's not the number one. He doesn't have to be the number one. But the number one wide receiver there plays majority in the slot. So he can play the outside while CD handles the slot and actually take pressure off each other. It only is going to make the offense better. I love the move for Dallas. I mean, it's better than trading a 4th for fucking Mingo like they did last year. But, yeah, I like it. I would have taken, and you'll know why after this one, I would have taken somebody else above him. But I like the pick. I think there's a lot of talent there for a relatively young guy still that hopefully takes us as a breath of fresh, new lease on life on his career instead of going the other way like most wide receivers most temperamental wide receivers that leave Pittsburgh do. So, Shane, what you think about it, buddy?
Love the pick. I agree. He's in a better situation. He's got a great set of hands. While I don't like Dak to win championships, fantasy-wise, he has proven to be a stud. I think they can produce points with CD and George. So I love the pick. If he stays out of his own way. Now,
Yeah.
if he goes there and gets in trouble again, he's like me. I think Joey referred to him as Antonio Brown Jr. I think that's a fair comparison. If you can't get out of your own way and just let your talent do the talking, then he's just going to fail again.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. But all right, guys. Well, with the last pick, I'm gonna wrap this up in a nice little bow. Last pick, I'm gonna take Chris Olave. I know the injury concerns. I know the rebuild in New Orleans, but he's the number one wide receiver. I mean, y'all both can make the face or whatever, but he's very talented. He's proven that. He's had crap quarterback play. That's gone. I'd rather see him with Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck than with Derek. I'm gonna throw a ball 15 yards out of bounds and blame it on you, car, or a hospital ball car. So I'm super high on it. It's also buying into the Kellen Moore offensive mind and putting him in positions to do a little more run after the catch, that kind of thing. So I'm excited to see where he goes now. I mean, because he definitely produced as the year went on. And plus, there was another wide receiver I was thinking about taking here, but I just couldn't in good conscience take him. Just the amount of crap I've talked about him over the years.
Yeah, because you didn't want it on actual recording, so people can go back and call you on it.
No, because but I would still take Olave over him, and we're talking about JMO, but I'd still take Olave over JMO. I don't need a one-trick pony.
Hey, first of all, I'm on your side with Jameson Williams.
Oh, I know. Oh, 100%. Okay. I know. 100%.
So Joey, I'll take this if you don't mind, because I'll take Chris Billy Bob Olave.
It's fair.
He is one concussion away from being out the league, in my opinion, but I hope he's okay. I love his talent. I love him as a player. I would assume he's the number one. Some people try to say Shaheed. I don't buy it. If Derek Carr was still the quarterback, I would say Shaheed.
Yeah, because I was going to throw go balls.
Yeah. So, but I think at 12 for a guy who was drafted 5th or 6th in the original draft, I think slam dunk here. Our 12th pick in our Dynasty draft was Kenny Pickett. So, so the talent level jump up here is insane. I hope he can stay healthy and perform for the Saints. We'll just have to see.
Yep. Joey, why don't you give us your little take, and then we'll cover a few guys that fell out of the draft, and we'll wrap this up episode in a nice little bow.
I mean, the concussions are what scares me. He gets in situations, again, hospital passes are a thing that he's had to deal with Derek Carr as a quarterback. I'm hoping that there's a lot of, I'm hoping that he's doing well in, the OTAs and everything, that he can be that Chris Olave that we drafted. But I'm skeptical because of that injury history. Typically when he gets injured pretty trying to think of the word. Pretty
it's catastrophic when it happens.
Pretty catastrophic when he gets injured. So hopefully, again, as a Saints fan, I want him to do well. I worry about those concussions because, like Shane said, he is one really bad concussion away from, I don't think, ever playing football again.
I mean, but who isn't?
That's true. However, he had 2 last season. He had
I agree.
In the last 4 years, and then I think it even went into college. He had a couple concussions. So, sometimes there's those players that are just super susceptible.
I mean, I feel like that's what's kind of baked into him falling into the last pick. So I'll take the talent. And I feel like I've said this every single pick that I've made. I'm going to bet on the talent.
I'll be honest. I looked at him and I'm like, man, I would pick him up. But, I could have picked him up at 8. I could have picked him up at 11. And I'm like, those concussions are what worries me the most.
Yeah, that's fair.
As someone who's had 4 concussions and is still a contributing member to society, I don't hate the pick. So I'm going to throw out some guys that were picked before him or right after him. Treylon Burks, complete trash. picked before him in most leagues.
Replace AJ Brown.
Sky Moore.
Oh,
picked right after him or before him. Complete trash, irrelevant. Jameson Williams, no matter what Corey Bruner says, is a one-trick pony and has not done anything except for maybe a little bit of flash in the pan last year. I think you've seen some guys like Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis drafted higher in that mid tier. So where you look at this draft, a lot of the guys we're talking about were not drafted in the first round. Were drafted mid to late third round, mid second, late third, and it just shows that the pro analysis can be wrong and could lead you in the wrong way. So, like Tyler said, he's betting on talent. The guys that Tyler's betting on, the guys that Joey's betting on, are all proven guys. They're not Treylon Burks. They're not Sky Moore. They're not, okay, hey, AJ Brown left and Treylon Burks went to the Titans. It's a slam dunk. Sky Moore's going to the Chiefs, slam dunk. Kenny Pickett was a flash in the pan with that one little fake slide in college. I'll digress, but I feel all the picks we made today were solid compared to the picks that were made in the actual 2022 rookie draft.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I agree with you. Look, out of the ones you named, and it's going to hurt me to say it, Jameson Williams has the best odds to probably move up into this if we did a redraft in a few years. If I was putting money, it'd be
but right now, at this current state, 3 years later, I'm not drafting him before any of the 12 people we mentioned.
No, and I agree because, look, you look at it. I mean, and we don't have to get into all that, but there's been circumstances that have delayed his progress in the NFL. So,
yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add, man? I'm pretty good, you guys.
Is there anybody that wasn't drafted that you're surprised?
Let me go look at the rankings real quick. I mean, we talked about Pickens was gone. No, Watson with the injury history wasn't that great. You know what I mean?
I was thinking about. I had Christian Watson kind of on my radar that it was a name I kept coming back to, but again, like with Olave, the injuries kind of scared me a little bit.
You know who's one that could probably sneak his way on here just for a sneaky PPR guy was Wan'Dale Robinson.
Okay.
Just sneaky PPR kind of thing. I don't think it maintains it. It was just for that 2 little year gap. Like, you had a solid flex option as a wide receiver.
That's fair.
Yeah. So nothing crazy. But all right. Well, that being said, guys, I think it's time to wrap up.
This was fun. I loved it.
Oh yeah. Well, it's till next time. Well, maybe we'll do the 23 draft coming up soon. Who knows? Talk about one of my favorite players in the NFL. With that being said, guys, I am your host, Tyler. One half of the Dynasty Doctors with the other half, Shane O'Mac, and our resident Joey. Till next time, we had an Nova City sort of sports talk. Later.